Hello. Hello and welcome again, second time, to another Was It Good live taping podcast on Fat Fridays. Just kidding. It's just Friday, normal Friday, I guess.
Is it normal? It doesn't feel normal.
Nothing is normal anymore.
Well, technically, we've been in this state for so long, it is normal.
This is the new norm?
Yeah.
This is true.
Wow.
I'm not ignoring you, I'm just tweeting.
Can someone just check the audio and make sure it's running through something?
Sure. Do you want me to check Twitch?
Those watching, can you hear us?
Yeah. Give us a thumbs up emoji if you can hear us.
Hit up our chat and we can let you know if we... Wait, no. You can let us know if you can hear us. Hello? Is anyone there?
I have to watch this The Boys ad real quick. 20 more seconds before I can see our stream.
Oh, God.
This is why we don't have any viewers. They're forced to watch 30 seconds of shit. 6 more seconds. We're getting there, guys.
Do we have ads on everything? Like, could you have gone to, like, YouTube?
Sounds pretty good, right?
That doesn't... Is that our right audio or is it the camera audio?
That sounds like the camera audio.
Interesting.
Hold on, do you want me to come and take a look?
Yeah.
Can you throw up the white card?
Bye!
Or do you want to just kill it for right now?
No, I'll put the white card.
Hi, let us know in the chat if you're watching how we sound. Sounds a lot better.
Perfect.
Sounds great. Anyway, we're good there. Let me send this tweet out. Shit.
Twit,
Nope, I
motherfuckers.
sent it from the right account. Make sure you retweet with comment.
Did you send it from Dunkbait? No?
No, I did
Oh,
not.
what a waste.
Let me alert our friends that we're on.
We have friends?
Yeah. But I mean, let's get one thing straight here. You know how you make fun of me for, like, chatting with my friends and, keeping in touch with them?
Yeah.
You do realize that 95% of all the people we hang out with here in this state, in this city, are your friends. You hypocrite.
He's ignoring you.
Yeah, I can tell. Cause
He's doing that thing he does
he's a-
90% during the show where he texts.
He's a
ignores the
pissy
show.
little host.
It's a wicked pissy.
Pissy little host. Cool.
Yeah.
And I think we're ready. Let's go ahead and hit record, Juno, on these cameras. What was that?
But configured file output path is invalid. Did you not set this up?
What happened?
It's not your output path for the video.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I didn't do that one yet.
Whoops.
That's fine. It's a new computer. We upgraded our computers, so now it looks and sounds exactly the same.
Oh, this is the new computer.
Yes.
Where's the old one?
It won't let me change it.
That's because we're still alive. That's why.
Oh, we have to kill the stream.
We'll have to kill the stream.
Well, guys, we'll be back momentarily, but it'll be on a different stream. So please close your browser, and we'll see you.
Well, no, it should pick up on everything the same.
Oh,
Yeah. Third time?
Third time.
Third time.
Third time. 2 L's. Is the charm. I don't think you're supposed to do that under FCC guidelines
On Twitch?
on anything.
You sure?
No. Anyway, let's just get this show on the road. I'm going to go ahead and start recording there. And I'm about to start with this amazing
Can you
intro.
clap it in, please?
Clapping it in. Clapping it in.
Can't wait to hear this intro.
Happy Friday, my lovelies. My name is Ravi, and I'm so happy to be sitting here with my awesome, cool brother, Krishna, and the other one, he who shall not be named. We are talking about Lovecraft Country, Star Trek Lower Decks, and Doctor Strange / Spider-Man news. But first, I just want to reemphasize how cool Krishna is. He is the best. His shiny bald head is the center of the unknown universe.
Wow, Abby, tell us how you really feel. Jeez.
Wow, you're really feeling bad about yourself today, huh? You need
I am.
You need the
I
boost.
will say I did.
I need to pick me up.
I did say I did change one thing.
What?
Your last sentence, I changed it from known universe to unknown universe.
Yeah.
Much better.
I thought about putting in known and unknown, but I didn't want to be too facetious. But you did it for me, so it's
Well, I
fine.
just put unknown. Anyway, Arjun is also here. He's he
that
who
guy.
shall not be named.
Hello.
You're Voldemort. I've been reading a lot of Harry Potter, so
Why? You're
Harry Potter is
that
old
is
at
a
this
children's
point.
story.
Yeah.
Like it's not even for our target demo anymore. Like our target demo will be like, what's Harry Potter?
really.
I don't know. I don't even know what our target demo is.
Yeah, I don't think we know what we're doing.
No, we don't. No, we do not. Anyway, we've got a couple of things to get into.
Yeah.
I think we should get through or start with the first thing that is the most interesting because I just watched it recently, so it's top of the mind. Star Trek Lower Decks, season finale. Finale.
Sub Commander, you are very pretty.
What
That's
is
a Star Trek reference.
That's Commander. Not
It's
Commander
Enterprise,
Tucker.
or yeah.
It's the other one. The other guy who says that in
Is
the
it Tucker?
Malcolm?
yeah, who says that in the the traditional Star Trek episode where everyone becomes horny.
That's the one thing
Another Trek trope.
Another Trek trope right there. Anyway, the season finale of probably the greatest
Oh.
hold on, first season of a Star Trek series
It's not even close.
Oh.
ever.
It's not even close.
There is no better first season out there.
Wasn't the Archer one good in you guys' opinion?
The
No.
second and third seasons were much better.
Yeah, the
Oh,
first
okay.
season
but
was
but
hot
Star
garbage.
Trek traditionally, it just takes a full season to really find its footing. And
Though, isn't Discovery, I know it's not at this table, but didn't a lot of people like the first season of Discovery?
it was really up and down, but a lot of people were down on it.
Mm.
Season 2 started off a lot better, and then that kind of fizzled. And now season 3 is kind of make or break, I feel like, for that show.
You think so?
Yeah.
Isn't that show almost done soon? Like I thought it was
Discovery?
limited.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna go like 10 seasons, but
I'm not making that bet.
I
Take the money.
I think it probably goes like 5-6 seasons, maybe. But who knows? They have so many spin-offs, they might start shutting some of these down. And TV
They probably should.
and TV has gone to shorter formats at this point. You know, like most shows don't make it. You know, a good show makes it to 4 or 5 seasons now, not 9-10 seasons anymore.
Yeah. I enjoy the shorter formats myself.
Agreed.
Because I have a small attention span.
And you don't let it fizzle.
A
you
small
know?
brain.
And a lot of shows, they change things up after 4 or 5 seasons, and then it's just not good.
Office.
Or the same show.
So anyway, the season finale of Lower Decks. What did we think? Just initial impressions right off the bat.
They made it quite epic.
It
was,
was epic.
It was the first space battle I can remember this season.
Yes.
Or the first one where ships
Well, they
were
had the
firing.
holodeck space battle.
Yeah, but I mean the real world.
They also showed death. I mean, the episode begins with a
couple of
crew.
guys.
whole crew dying.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, they just killed those people? Even
And
though
they
they're
kill-
animated characters.
And they killed off the best character anyway.
Yeah, they killed off one of the officers.
No,
at the
Badgie.
end.
They killed off Badgie.
Badgie's a program.
Yeah.
So Badgie could come back easily.
You're saying he lived. He's a zombie program now. I like that.
All I'm saying
like
is
that a lot.
Badgie could have transferred himself to Rutherford's implant that was ripped off on the ship, and
But didn't it blow
using
up then?
using technology, he could then transmit into Rutherford's brain because science.
This isn't the Lower Decks movie, so you have to explain it better. You can't just say science.
I don't have to explain it. It's not just a Star Trek show. It's also an animated show, so they can literally do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Couple of fun things right off of Chris's first point about, big space battles, and then Arjuna's point on, an actual ship being destroyed. We don't usually see a lot of full-blown starships being destroyed. I wanted to bring this up because there's a crap ton for like a 20-minute episode. I counted something like 10 to 12 different Easter eggs. But the one that sticks out here is there's a comment about Worf. No, Wolf. Wolf.
Wait, Wolfie? Julian Schwab?
No. Basically, it's about Picard and being a Borg and how the most Federation starships being destroyed was under at the hands of Picard as a Borg. And the joke is that Wolf, was it 539, which is a battle, was an inside job.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of a funny joke because Picard, who was Starfleet, was turned Borg.
That's interesting
So,
because I heard
thought
that and I was like, there's definitely a reference here that I don't get.
There's a ton of references.
I was gonna ask Ravi. I was like, what is Wolf? Whatever it was, and also what's Beta 3? And there's a lot.
There's a lot. The
That was a
last
lot.
few weeks they've really leaned into referencing
The
whole show. Like there's the TOS, which is like
that was the best
I
one.
call it TOS.
Because I got
Why
it.
TOS? Because the TOS
The
is
old science.
the old science.
Like, oh no, the original science. I think
Something
that's what
like
he called
that.
it.
Yeah, which is funny because obviously it's the original series.
Yeah.
That was a funny one.
The TOS, you said?
Yeah. Obviously, the Titan one, they've referenced Titan all season. We know that Riker and Troy were on the Titan or transferred to the Titan at the end of Nemesis. Then they even did the Archer one, where technically the very end of this episode takes place at the same time as the series finale of Enterprise, because the series finale of Enterprise is Riker and Deanna Troi on a holodeck reliving Enterprise. And
so not to be an uber nerd here, it's not it. They're just showing a reference that Riker loves Archer. The series finale of Enterprise. It's actually just before it's just before an episode of Next Generation where Riker has to make a choice about his weird clone brother thing or this either that or some ship that he abandoned, and he needed advice, so he went and followed and saw what Archer did during the season finale. They were just playing upon the idea that Riker really likes Archer for fucked up reason.
Yeah, it's funny.
They made Riker really weird.
It's great.
I don't remember him being quite so strange.
Well, it's because and that's the one I want to bring up. Is like you look at Riker. We've seen Riker in the Next Generation series. We've seen Riker in all these movies. We've seen Riker, old man Riker in Picard, and now we're getting like
and Enterprise,
and now which is fat Riker.
Yeah,
like he was so fat.
Wow.
I'm so thankful he's like
he's he's an older man at that point. Like
I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, but
he's in his 50s.
Either way,
now he's in his 70s.
Yeah, but if you saw him in Picard, he looked great.
I actually still haven't watched Picard.
Oh, he's great. He looks healthy.
He looks old as fuck in the stills I've seen.
Either way,
well, he is old.
He is old, as you just said.
Yes.
Either way, now we get to see an animated version of Riker, and I think it leans into like everyone's happiness and optimism and just overall joy, right? And we see that with this Riker like being all bubbly, grabbing everyone. Everyone's his friend and Klingon, whatever that not Tai Chi. What was it? He called mariners something, which is supposed to basically be like warrior servant or something.
Oh, okay. I missed that one.
Yeah, there's another reference.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, there's just so many references in this thing.
There was a lot. It was a lot, and it was great. And they also used another classic Trek trope of bigger starship coming in to save the
not just bigger,
smaller starship at the end of the day.
Like a zombie ship. Like it has like what 36 different ships.
No. The trope of the Titan.
Oh, the Titan.
Like
I see.
because remember the joke is Federation being we're supposed to be explorers, but they have these massive warships like the Titan.
Yeah, the Titan is not a ship for exploration. It is
built
for
warship.
one thing,
to destroy everything.
and just to go in and annihilate everything.
Yeah,
So.
which explains why it was so OP.
Yeah, it was
As the
great.
nerds would
It
say.
was, I think it's a great way to end it, and then also just ending on that not like a cliffhanger, but the fact that Boimler moves to the Titan, does admits that he sees Mariner as a friend,
Yeah.
and then in the next instance is like, boom, I'm out of here. I'm on the Titan.
Yeah, which they foreshadowed. He talked about his love of the Titan all season long, and so it was kind of rewarding for the Titan to come in, and then he also gets that dream job.
Mm-hmm.
The showrunner has confirmed that the actors for both Riker and Troy will appear in at least one, if not more, episodes of season 2. So it's not like they're just going to undo the whole Titan thing.
Like he gets demoted,
Right.
first season episode or
So
something.
it might either be a couple episode arc or maybe a full season. Who knows? Maybe this is like Jim in season 3 of The Office, where he's in a completely
Half a
separate
season.
office. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
But I think that's interesting. I think that's cool. I like that there are consequences in this finale, right? One of the biggest criticisms of animated shows is everything stays the same. Everything resets. Simpsons, Family Guy, all those types. South
Rick and
Park.
Morty is not.
Rick and Morty does not.
It's the exception, probably.
Right. Even though they've started to play around with resetting stuff and all that type of stuff, but they really lean into consequences. Boimler moves ship. Rutherford loses his implant and basically loses his entire memory. One of the I forget the crew, the bridge officer who dies in the episode.
That would be Shax.
Shax, right?
He's with the prophets now.
Yeah, what is that? What is that reference? Like, is that like his? People?
What's his species again? Oh, this is gonna make me annoyed.
I can't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Keep talking.
It's just It's just another great.
He's with the
joke.
prophets now. like fighting, ripping someone's arms off.
Bajoran. They're Bajorans.
That's right.
So Bajorans. So the Bajorans are kind of introduced in Star Trek Deep Space Nine with the Cisco. They believe a subsect of them believe that wormholes are created by these gods, these prophets or whatever, and they're supposed to be for the most part like a peaceful race, but the Bajorans, but the Cardassians, not Kardashians.
The Cardassians.
The Cardassians.
Their show is ending.
Yes, thank God. The Cardassians come in and kind of screw things up, and they turn to terrorism for all intents and purposes to kind of fight back. So Shax's character is quite interesting because he's clearly really into fighting and being like a warmonger, not a warmonger, like a fighter essentially, and I thought it was pretty funny that the fact that his death and everything, what they say is oh yeah, he'll be with the prophets, and the send off was very kind of like Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan with Spock dying and the send off. So that's interesting. It'd be curious to see if Shax comes back or if he's gonna be, because within Bajoran culture, when you become part of the prophets, you can kind of, to a degree, it's kind of like being a Force ghost in Star Wars, where you can kind of interact with the real living world again. So it would be interesting if he pops back up.
Oh,
but it's
absolutely will.
That's
Absolutely.
great.
It's
That's great.
also because he's this buff, angry warrior guy who likes to fight. So correct me if I'm wrong. Are they saying that the kind of Bajorians that would come back like that would be peaceful and kumbaya?
I would imagine it would be like Anubis in Stargate when he tried to ascend and got stuck halfway.
It is very
and
Stargate.
then
That
turned
transcended
and then grouped all of the I forget what they're called. Wow, how do you go back and rewatch Stargate?
Wow.
I'll see you guys. In a
Oh,
month.
speaking of Stargate, real quick, Jason Momoa has this show on Apple TV Plus called C, I believe.
Yeah,
Right?
Ravi loved it.
First 5 episodes.
Anyway, for season 2, it's been confirmed that one of his old buddies from Stargate Atlantis will be co-starring Joe Flanagan, the lead of Stargate Atlantis, having a little mini Stargate Atlantis reunion.
Wait, what?
on
I
the
met
show.
Joe Flanagan when I used to work at the Apple Store.
Is he like a drunk?
He is an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like an ass.
He
that
is
guy.
an ass.
He looks
So
old.
I
I'm
mean-
glad I'm not watching that stupid show anymore.
Yeah, but him and Jason Momoa are clearly friends.
That's not true.
Jason Momoa is friends with everybody.
Yeah, it's
feels-
true.
I feel like.
If you can't be friends with Jason Momoa, then the problem is you.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
Let's bring it back to Star Trek Lower Decks. Before we go around and ask that age-old question, anything that we want to see in season 2 that we didn't get enough of or didn't see in season 1? Any Star Trek tropes that we want? I definitely have one, but I'll let you guys go first.
It's got to be time travel. right?
Damn it! That
That's-
was what I was gonna say.
That's got to be the one. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a Star
No.
Trek trope that's in
No,
every
no.
single show.
We didn't get a horny episode this season. I want to see a horny episode.
Okay,
Horny. Actually, I want to call out one of our comments.
You know what's
from,
worse? Hold on. You saying that with your weird fucking mustache.
Sorry, guys. It had to be done, though.
How about a horny episode with time travel?
Oh, God. You're just trying
Yeah, it's called Dark.
Yes.
On Netflix.
That is at horny time travel? Man, that's about as dark as it gets. I'm going to call out a comment, actually, from a good friend of the pod, Michael. He basically said, I can't see that on that screen, so basically with Boimler moving, right, to the Titan, it's a good way to now have a larger pool of characters, views, expands the world of the show beyond the Cerritos, which will make the next season not feel stale. And I think that's, like, hit the nail on the head. We can have more funny interactions. We can get a whole different crew. So I'm looking forward to Boimler being Boimler, but with a whole different set of characters. And I think it's going to affect Mariner hardcore, that she, doesn't have Boimler to, pick on, and then.
Well, remember at the end of the episode, they were talking about some Klingon outpost that they have to go to. And Boimler was talking about a bar there that he's already experienced with.
Time travel?
No, with Mariner. So I think Boimler's already changed as a character, where he's a little bit more Mariner in the sense that I think he's not going to be by the rules as much.
Right.
Because the entire episode was basically,
to get some
if
stuff
I was
done, you got to break some
Yeah,
rules.
if I was the Star Trek uber nerd that I've always wished that I could be, I would list every single Federation rule that they broke in that episode. But I hate reading, so I can't do it.
Well, the other thing is, too, you even see it at the beginning of the episode, right? He's helping Mariner out, giving the supplies on the planet.
Right.
So he definitely has changed. I mean, part of me being a cynic,
But it's still within his character. He's doing it to, like,
impress
get
people.
get like brownie points.
Right,
with
and I think that's
the
exactly
captain's
what he's
daughter.
doing on the Titan.
Sure.
And so he's probably, if I have to project how season 2 is going to go, he's going to break one too many rules on the Titan and get demoted back to
to the
Cerritos.
Cerritos.
But that's tricky because Riker himself, and I guess this is potentially what could make season 2 really more interesting, because we may get to see Riker as a captain. Because as a first to Picard, Riker was consistently like saying to the Federation and like breaking every rule under the sun. Like you could argue he was one of the OG, or maybe the next OG bad boy to like Kirk. So if Boimler is like breaking all these rules, I have to wonder, is Riker going to be like, no, it's cool, you're young, fuck the Federation,
Interesting.
we have a warship, or is he going to be like, no,
Wait a
don't do
second.
that.
Okay, I got to call this out then. So you're telling me Riker, because I'm not a Star Trek nerd, so I don't know. Riker was more Mariner back when he was
not to that level.
Okay.
But he was definitely he definitely did things. If you go back and watch the Next Generation, definitely like as an adult, and you've got more like these are the rights and the wrongs of the world.
Yeah.
You'll definitely go back and watch a couple episodes and be like, Riker is fucking insane. Like,
wait a second.
Yeah.
So he's fucking insane, and they gave him the most powerful warship in the fleet?
Yes.
What
I mean,
the
he
fuck?
was on the Enterprise.
Christian,
What the fuck?
Christian, you saw Star Trek 4, the whale one.
Yes.
You've seen how dumb the Federation is. I mean, this shouldn't surprise you. The Federation is basically like, I don't know if Gene Roddenberry, when he originally came up with the idea of this Federation, Starfleet, and all this, was the idea to basically mimic and like make fun of like things like the UN, because the UN is the Federation is a great representation of what the UN is currently, where it's like we will turn the blind eye if the end results get us what we want, right?
But they don't actually do anything anyway.
I
The
mean,
UN, that is.
yeah, I mean, and the Federation to a degree,
They can't do
they
anything.
don't really do anything either. They are a collective of all of these planets, and they only maintain.
What do you mean? Don't they?
They only
boldly
make. They
go
only
where no man
hold
has
on.
gone before.
They only really maintain peace as more people join their collective cult,
Yeah.
right?
Or their
It's
cult.
basically join our cult, or we have these borders, and we have these ongoing fights. Like the Klingons and the Federation, they did not become friends until the Klingons were like, you know what? It's cool. We'll give up our like self whatever and become part of your Federation. And then the war stopped.
Whoa.
Well, there's also the fact you see a shift with our main characters in Lower Decks, right? Mariner talking to her mother at the end of the episode.
Sure.
It's like, and you see it at the beginning of the episode too. Like they're, the Federation's so strict and culty like that they just think like, oh yeah, we go to a planet and they're gonna do the right thing, and we never have to
Right.
check in again.
Right.
So
Which is
what's
hilarious.
interesting about like new Trek, as we'll call it, right, the new generation of Trek, you see in Discovery, Picard, and now Lower Decks, is this idea that the Federation isn't as pristine and quote unquote good as we thought it was, right? In Picard, there's huge issues with the Federation. You're seeing that in Lower Decks. You see that in Discovery as well. So it's almost like they're trying to kind of, within the new Star Trek universe, that like the Federation may be quote unquote good,
Or has
but-
good intentions.
good intentions, but like any organization, there's a lot of cracks, and it's not necessarily as like wholly good and everything, that they make it out to be. So I'm kind of fascinated to see, going back to the original question of what do I want to see in season 2, kind of more of that the Federation isn't the do all end all, that is quote unquote good. And that's actually what's interesting about Discovery season 3, right? We're going into the far flung future where the Federation is probably gone at that point. And so it's going to be interesting to get insight in that show of like where the Federation potentially went wrong,
Became the new
and
Republic.
how that's going to how that will how that will kind of influence these shows.
It's an empire.
And
I'm
be
curious.
shown.
I'm curious to see how. Like, I think it was suggested how far in the future they've gone. We know the furthest. We know of one particular timeline from the Enterprise series, how far in the future that is like history, which is the sphere builders fighting the Xindi and the Federation, and there's the Enterprise. I want to say it was the F or maybe the G, and it's something like, I think it's like 1,000 years potentially in the future,
Right.
which in itself is kind of weird because why would an Enterprise last that fucking long? They crash these ships like Candy Crush, That's the best.
Candy Crush?
That's the best.
Also, I did
whatever.
like the joke at the end of the episode where it's like, I want the ship the exact same, but mostly exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
nothing-
Almost exactly.
almost exactly the same. Because that's how they upgrade every ship or whatever.
I've never been one to like have a desire to collect like the Star Trek ships because there's so many. There's so many variants. Like Kirk's original Enterprise ship, I think there's something like 3 or 4 variants right now. For whatever reason, the Cerritos, I would be cool like having a model of that ship.
How come there's no Lego Star Trek partnership?
Asks Paramount and CBS and whoever
And
Viacom.
probably the Roddenberry family, right? Like it's probably their say at the end.
yeah, in
Is
terms
that-
of
gets
is- maybe
merchandised.
though there's like there's a thing where Star Trek and Star Wars cannot share the same medium.
that's not.
ever.
I don't know. That might be true
Ever.
because you don't see any Hasbro Star Trek toys.
Boom. They
So
can't.
that might
share.
be a thing.
I bet it's a thing.
Well, and it's kind of on a tangent. Isn't there a guy who did like a YouTube video where he made his entire garage into a bridge
Yes.
on one of the starships?
Yeah, wait. He did this, I think, during quarantine. His
Yeah,
quarantine
yeah.
project
It's really cool.
was to turn this actually is a little scary actually because that quarantine project was 2 months. So quarantine started around March. He finished, I think, in May, June, and we're still in quarantine. So what else has he done? Has he figured out how to like turn his entire house into? Because that would be
that'd be
cool.
incredible.
that is both really cool and also a little depressing.
Why?
Like
Why?
what people.
He can
can
make that
achieve-
into a museum that people
no,
visit.
No, it's depressing for us, as in
We
what
should-
certain people have achieved.
Yeah.
And then I look at myself. I'm like, what have I done?
You grew a mustache.
I've grown a mustache. I've
You hit 100 episodes on a podcast. Not a lot of people can say that.
you might be surprised.
When I start, when I on my resume, I'm gonna put under like achievements, podcast 100 episodes.
I think about over a fifth, almost a quarter of our episodes have come during quarantine.
yeah.
But we've certainly upped our production or our output of podcast episodes, and everything.
So here,
Key-
let me pat you on the back.
Thank you. I need that.
Even though you had nothing to do with
Exactly.
most of it.
I mean, me personally, what have I done?
I don't.
Christian is the only person to appear in all 100 episodes.
that's
Am I
true.
really? Is that
Actually,
actually true?
yeah.
Yeah, because Ravi missed 1, and I think I've missed 2.
Well, you're a loser. That's
Thank
why
you.
you're the one who will not be named. You don't care about this podcast.
Anyway, we're going off the
Just
tracks here, so I'm gonna bring it back. I think we can all say
No, it was bad.
that Star Trek Lower Decks season finale was good.
Yeah.
Was it the best episode of the season?
Ooh.
Yes. Definitely, because the amount of Easter eggs I just loved.
I don't know. What I really enjoyed about the show is that every episode felt quite distinct. there was like none of the plots felt stale to me or reused. I mean, obviously, hopefully that doesn't happen within a season of a show, right?
Yes.
But there were like a lot of classic episodes, like Badgie. Badgie is one that like sticks out.
The dog.
The dog one. Every episode had something about it which felt really distinct. So was this the best one? I don't know. Because they were all really good.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I really like the action and how they
Yes.
did the action sequences in this. And
The animation was really
It's some
cool.
of the best action you've ever seen in Star Trek. It almost makes you question, especially because they're doing so many Star Trek spin-offs, if they're going to do a spin-off with Riker and Troy on the Titan in an animated form, like with this Star Trek warship, and they can kind of make it goofy and also action-y with animation.
Do you think Riker is a MAGA supporter?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Really? Was he a Law and
I
Order
don't.
guy?
I don't want to think about that. Anyway,
Wait, one last
Yep.
question. So we got 3, I think, classic Trek characters in this season. We got Q, Riker, and Troy.
Who's Troy?
That's Riker's wife and
Oh,
first
oh,
officer.
that's-
she's the
okay.
empath.
Right.
She
okay.
was the one that was to the number 1 on the Cerritos.
Right.
You've got clearly issues.
Right.
So my question is, who do you want to see from other Trek other classic Trek series and movies in season 2?
Kirk.
He's
No,
dead.
He's dead.
He's dead at this point.
Okay, that means as far as I can tell in Star Trek means absolutely nothing.
Actually, this is a really good segue. Janeway and Katie Mulgrew?
Mulligan?
The actress that plays
Yeah.
Catherine Janeway from Star Trek Voyager, she did a conference or call or Skype call, Zoom call for New York Comic-Con, which is ongoing currently. And it's confirmed that she's going to be reprising her role as Captain Janeway in the Nickelodeon CBS Star Trek series Prodigy. So, and that's an animated show.
Mhm.
So, naturally, I expect her to also be in season 2 of Lower Decks.
Nice.
And I would hope that it's just an episode, and it's basically her being like, everything you do is nothing compared to what I did.
Well, she's an admiral at this point, right?
Right, but I want her to still be,
Wait a minute.
everything you do sucks.
How many admirals are there in the Federation?
How many admirals are there in the United States Army?
I have no idea. Why would you ask?
0, because an admiral is someone
for the
in a
Navy.
Navy, yeah.
So,
Trick question.
one other thing. I want to see the Cisco appear in an episode.
He's dead.
So what? Didn't he ascend?
Yeah.
So then
but
he can come back, right?
I guess as a force.
I mean, the most logical character to me is going to be Picard in the Enterprise.
no,
at some
boring.
point.
Boo.
It's going to happen.
Boo. Too much
You
Picard.
had the Titan, and then now you're going to have Picard with the Enterprise in that time frame, kind of.
You know who I want to see? I want to see the marine biologist from Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, appear in an episode, just so they can kill her.
Christian, real quick.
You made me watch that piece of shit.
Kirk's time,
I don't care. It's time travel.
roughly 100 to 150 years
Okay.
later.
Okay.
Like
With all the
before.
things that you've told me about,
Sure.
time travel,
Yes.
ascension,
Holodecks.
holodecks. What other crazy alien? The prophets and all this shit. Okay, being dead means nothing. Nothing.
There's an episode
Spock.
where Mariner holodecks into Deep Space Nine. Could you
Yes.
imagine? How meta would that get?
What if Cisco is like her great grandfather? I don't know the.
I
time
kind of
difference,
hope,
but-
this is what I really hope for, that they decide, hey, we can do whatever we want. And, they've already shown that where in this episode they did a throwback to TOS, the animated series. So when they're
The old
looking.
science.
Yeah, exactly. When they're looking at a data pad, there's a screen grab, and it's actually a clip from the original animated show. So my theory is, why couldn't they do a holodeck episode where they upgrade the holodeck and they just use footage from any of the Star Trek series that they have?
or hear this one. Hear
That
this
would be hilarious.
No, this
like
is-
cartoon characters
This
running around. Oh
this
my
is
God.
how meta you make it, right? Boimler gets demoted from the Titan, goes back onto the Cerritos. He's missing Riker and everything, so he makes a simulation of him watching Riker on the holodeck of the Enterprise in the original, like in Star Trek Enterprise. So it's an animated version of the series finale of the Enterprise with Boimler watching it.
That's hilarious. That's great.
Anyway, we're going to move on before we get too crazy here. Let's touch really quick before we wrap with our Spider-Man news. Lovecraft Country, Episode 8. premiered obviously a couple days ago. We got episode 9, 2 more episodes left for this season.
Dun, dun, dun.
Episode 8, what did we think?
Crazy.
Let's try and stay away from probably the best duo Halloween costume.
Stay away from it?
Yeah, let's not talk just about that. Let's talk about other things besides the curse chasing.
God damn. I'm gonna learn that.
The format of the show. I mean, this is the best thing HBO's done since Watchmen, right? And it's
Which wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
You make it like make it sound like Watchmen came out like 20 years ago.
Well, no, it's funny, right? When everyone thinks of HBO, they obviously think of Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
But Game of Thrones at the end sucked.
Yeah.
And really, since Game of Thrones, HBO has put out some really good programming: Watchmen, Chernobyl, and now Lovecraft,
and a few other things that we don't watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Which gets
right.
good
Wait,
stuff.
was Game of Thrones wasn't this year, was it?
It was last year.
last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
It was last year.
Yeah, May 19th, 2019. Okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
So
About to have a heart attack.
with Lovecraft, it almost this episode felt like the setup to now the ending. Like we're getting into the Avengers end game now. In terms of we're kind of setting up our characters, and you can kind of see that end path, and that's what this episode felt like to me. A lot more world building on top of world building, and then putting our characters on a trajectory to kind of
Crash.
collide and collapse.
Go smush smush.
But that's your take. Huh?
Smush, smush.
Go smush smush. Oh, my turn. Okay. No, I mean that was a lot happening in this episode. Like there always is. There's always some crazy shit going on.
What would you say is like the one thing that stood out the most to you?
Braithwaite having sex with what's her name, Ruby, but her skin falling off as it's happening, as the white woman, and then the skin falling off. I mean, that was disgusting as fuck.
Christian has a recurring theme here. He said he wants to see a horny episode for Star Trek. He talks about sex with skin falling off.
No, the question was what stood out to me. That was the most.
I just think it's
again another visceral.
To me, it's telling that is what stood out to you.
Yeah, what? It didn't stood out to you guys. You looked at that and you're like, oh, I'm bored. No, this is fine.
I'll say this: they are still doing an amazing job with their visual effects. If
Yeah.
they don't win the Emmy for best visual effects
On a TV show. Or
on the TV show,
Did the Emmys already happen?
well, next season.
Yeah, that's true.
If they don't win for that, or if HBO does not nominate them, then I don't know what the hell they're doing, because consistently, the visuals that we see, the art direction that we see is just always kind of memorable. It always stands out. It
makes you want to puke a little bit.
Makes you want to puke a little bit. It never is kind of we did this for the sake of just doing it. There's always like a reason behind it, and it always stands out. And just looks really, really good. Even the simple flyover shots of Chicago, or the dolly shots, the crane shots of a Chicago street, they look fan-fucking-tastic. It's always on point there. I would say the one thing that stood out for me, and this is just to gloat, I called it. Titus went to the future, and guess what? He went
Tick?
to the future.
Not Titus.
Not Titus. Atticus.
Atticus.
Tick. Yeah,
Yeah.
Atticus. Atticus went.
Titus Braithwaite is the guy
Asshole.
is the guy who's dead.
Yes.
Well, that we think is dead.
Hey, I'm making my next prediction. Titus is alive. He's in the future.
Yeah, it's called The Sixth Day, and he's making clones of himself with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nice.
But, I mean, to kind of speak about that, right? So now we find out the book is by George Freeman, not Uncle George, but George Freeman, his son.
Yeah. He's gonna be a dad.
However, they talked about details being different in the book and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So do we think Tick went to the future or went to a possible future?
I think it's tricky, because that book, you could argue, is a biography, right? But even with like autobiographies or true real life biographies, that's never the black and white. It's sometimes the stories is shifted a little. Things are omitted for whatever reason. So I don't know if we based on the fact that it's not exactly the same means that it's
Things are
not
different.
the direct future, or it's a parallel future, or this or that.
That's a great point.
What is it? I was watching Empire Strikes Back, and Yoda said it best. future is always in motion. Uncertain of the future, we cannot be. Something like that.
Sounds like Star Wars is doing time travel.
They've been doing time travel.
What?
But yeah, I think it's one of those situations where I don't think it's this is what's going to happen. Same with the vision that Gia had about Tick. I don't know if that necessarily is that is his death, or if it's going to be his death and then he's reborn. We just don't know.
Also, Gia appeared in this episode,
Yeah.
and then she disappeared.
No, she didn't disappear, right? They just didn't go back to her.
Was it like get out? And then
Yeah.
She left.
And she just
I
looks
guess
sad.
she leaves.
Yeah.
She's
no,
probably
she's still
hanging
sticking
around town
yeah.
somewhere.
For sure.
I mean, the big thing, I think the thing that's obvious is she's clearly in love with Tick. I mean,
And we know exactly what she is now, right? She said she's a foxtail psyche.
We knew
we
that from
we
the
knew that
episode.
before.
We did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they talk about. That she's that spirit.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, okay.
Christian, did you watch the episode?
There's a lot. Yeah. I watched
Hey, what was your favorite part?
the
the sex with the skin falling off.
That was not my favorite
No, the
part.
sex with the heads exploding.
Oh my god.
No, my favorite part, and I think this is easy, is the two creepy girls that are chasing after. Is it her name Diana?
Yes.
The curse basically, right?
Yeah.
The two from is the characters from the book?
Yes.
What's the name? Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're like creepy versions. They're like these dancing
They're
devil children.
Maniac versions.
Yeah.
I think what worked with them was how the two actresses portrayed those characters was great, but also I think the biggest thing was the sound design and the music. Anytime you would see them, you would hear a low build-up in the background,
Yeah.
and then it would just kind of go all hell would break loose. And that, to me, is what gave me the goosebumps and the creep factor. And I watched this in broad daylight, and I had to get more light in because I was afraid that these creepy...
They're just gonna follow you. around.
Yeah, I thought that... And then I realized it was my cat.
How about Montrose absolutely screwing Diana over by trying to hug her? And that's how she gets cursed by these things, because he held her down, and that's when they're able to scratch
Cut her,
into
yeah.
her.
Yeah, that was creepy.
That was another really well done visual effect that they had it, and then they just had the arm kind of
Yeah.
spew out and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, Ruby revealed to Letty that she knows everything.
Yep.
She's like, I know magic.
That was the best part. And Lady's just like, what? Okay.
And she's like, and then Ruby's like, yeah, I know magic. She's like, I got magic of my own. I can change myself into a white woman. Great.
Yeah, but she does it I can change myself into a white woman. It's so what a reveal. Another part that really stood out was Christina.
Mhm.
I don't know if actually maybe you guys can help me out here. Was she testing a invulnerability spell because she chooses to die, right?
Mhm.
And she chooses to die in the way that Emmett Till, which by the way was called out in episode 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It was predicted, right, that he was going to die when they're doing the Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Allegedly the spirit of George Freeman was like Emmett Till's going to die.
Right.
So
And
we knew that was
he's
coming
a
at some
historical
point.
figure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we if you know your history and you saw Emmett in that
two
episode,
and two together.
you
yeah.
knew
He's a dead. He's a
gonna
dead.
die,
He's a dead man.
unfortunately.
Yeah. So it was interesting that Christina chooses to die in that way, especially because, and that's probably stems from the fact that Ruby was like,
You don't
you don't
care.
feel, you don't
Yeah.
feel, you don't empathize with us, and Christina straight up says no, I don't.
So do you think she's lying when she says that, or
No, I don't think she
Okay.
is. But I thought it was interesting that she chose to do it that way. I think it's almost like a narcissistic. Like I could put myself through that same pain, right? And that's how she decides to test it out, right?
Yeah, the resurrection.
What was that? Was that what was it? An invulnerability spell? Where did that come from? Why is she
So-
still alive?
So she has a resurrection spell. She has that spell.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because doesn't she tell Tick that earlier in the season?
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
But she doesn't have the.
I get hung up on the sex
Yeah.
with the skin falling off.
Right. Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, right. Well, anyway, but we know her end game is she wants invincibility. That's the spell that she wants. That's what they reference in the book, that she's going to
So
sacrifice.
she doesn't
Tick
have
for.
that right now? That's what I'm confused about.
So I guess she has to, because she casts something before they start beating her up.
Okay.
She says something under her breath,
Okay.
and then that's when she turns around. They punch her, and they do everything.
So basically, she wants immortality without having to work for it. Like have to say a spell every 5 seconds.
maybe because she also has that protection. She has the same scar, right? The protection spell that she gave Letty. Because remember, she gives Letty that protection, and she has that invisible bubble when the police attack the house.
Yeah,
that's when she
shooting
stands
the
up, and
bullets.
the bullets are going bouncing off her. And she has that
Oh.
little scar
Right.
on her stomach.
That's right.
So I don't know if that's what she has because it doesn't work the same way. It doesn't. So maybe she took that down so they could actually attack her because there's no bubble. And then she gets resurrected. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
how magic
that's
works.
what I'm a little. I'm a
What?
little
You
lost
don't
on
know how magic works?
right. You loser.
Say what?
Okay, here. So, moving along here, do we have any kind of predictions for the last two? I mean,
Yes.
my simple prediction is I'm sure something will be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There'll be a lot more what the fuck moments.
I thought Montrose was gonna die.
yeah,
This
same.
episode because when they were doing the spell, he's like, I'll do this for you.
Oh, that's.
and then
hilarious.
I thought like when
I'm
they're doing the
dyslexic,
spell,
boy.
that was
Since when? Since I was a child. Since I was a boy. It was great. Since I was a boy. That was good shit.
But and I thought he was gonna die there because you need like the human sacrifice. They talked about all or there's you need to give something for a spell. So I thought that was kind of gonna be it. Then they thought the spell obviously doesn't work, and then
Oh, it works.
And then when Tick was getting shot, I was like, wow, are they going to kill Tick 2 episodes before the finale and like really change things up? I was like, that'd be kind of cool. But then you have the our good friends from episode 1, the vampire dog beast.
Is it called a
Rise.
Shoggoth?
Yeah, I wrote down the name in the outline.
Shoggoth.
Shoggoth, I think. Just kind of brilliantly come out of the ground and kill everything.
Kill a bunch
Did
of
it-
racists.
Did it kill the police chief?
I think yeah.
'Cause
it
you see,
captured-
I think you see his body go flying.
and it's
at least
biting
implied.
into his neck, and it rips his arm off. He
Okay.
definitely loses an arm.
Okay, I wasn't
So.
sure. Like,
I wouldn't be shocked though
couldn't
if he's
tell.
not dead either.
yeah, I couldn't tell if he escaped or he was one of the victims. So, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. We will find out.
Okay, then. So let's move into our last topic here. And as always, we do these podcasts live on twitch.tv/wasitgood. So you can always jump in and give us your comments, and we will laugh and snicker at them. No, we'll interact with you. We'll be your friend. But to close this out here, a interesting announcement was made by, I believe, Variety, or is it Hollywood Reporter?
One of those.
One of the two,
We're
black
not
and
professional
white.
journalists. We don't need to cite our sources.
Yeah, we don't actually. We found it on the internet. We're breaking it. Anyway, Benedict Cumberbatch, who is most famously known
Oxford University.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Doctor Strange, has officially been signed on to a Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland, Jamie Foxx. What's his name as the director?
Sam Raimi?
No, Mark
No.
Webb.
Mark
Terrific.
Webb.
Right? Isn't that funny? His last name's Webb
Oh, it's perfect. That's why they picked.
That's why I trust him.
with 2 B's.
2 B's.
Ooh.
2 B's.
Otherwise, it would just be Webb. Anyway, so Doctor Strange is an interesting casting choice for Spider-Man 3. Jamie Foxx's Electro is also an interesting casting choice. And it's got the internet abuzz talking a potential, are we going to see a Spideyverse? And for those listening, watching, the Spideyverse in the Spider-Man comics is basically the multiverse. The idea that there are multiple different versions of Peter Parker or Spider-Man running around, and there are I guess you could say official MCU view of this with, what was it, Into the Spider-Verse?
The animated
The
show?
animated
animated
film.
movie?
Yeah.
Oh,
Was
yeah,
our
yeah,
first
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
take on that. We know that WandaVision is going to be looking potentially at a multiverse type thing.
They're going to be doing the House of M
M.
arc in the comics where she basically breaks the multiverse.
She breaks it?
Yes. Essentially, it's kind of the similar thing. Like, she tries to, at least in the MCU version, she's basically trying to resurrect Vision and, like, live a happily ever after with him. And that's going to cause issues.
Things
with
go
the multiverse.
and things go
And
horribly
that's gonna.
wrong.
So essentially, what they're kind of making is, it seems like WandaVision, Loki, Doctor Strange, and now Spider-Man 3 are all going to be very tightly wound together, and almost like you have to watch all of these to understand the other, because
I'm okay with
they're
that.
doing this kind of multiverse. They're doing this multiverse arc, which is I assume is going to start with WandaVision, because that's going to be the first thing that comes out of those four, where basically the multiverse is going to break, and that's going to have implications on Spider-Man, on Doctor Strange, and potentially Loki too. So here's my thinking how it's going to work. We know there's a version of Loki now that was freed in Avengers Endgame who escaped after the Battle of New York. That's the Loki we're going to kind of follow who has the Tesseract, right? Who can kind of transport everywhere. That's the version we're going to kind of watch in Loki. This multiverse madness, he's going to kind of get sucked back in, maybe in a proper universe or something. And that's how they bring back a version of Loki. In Spider-Man and Doctor Strange being, Time Lord or whatever is, the Wizard Supreme, whatever his stupid name is.
Beard man.
Beard man with cape. Yeah, there you go.
Window washer.
Has to kind of fix these issues, as he's kind of the magic master.
I'm the magic man.
And then Spider-Man's gonna get involved because everybody understands Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's gonna get involved because he's got nothing better to do.
He's in New York. They've already introduced different characters. He's their most popular property. Sony has a multiverse. Sony's like, I'm sorry, we made this parallel universe. Can we incorporate it into the MCU? Now they're like, yes, sure. We'll bring in Jamie Foxx. We'll bring in, Tobey Maguire's. There's a strong rumor that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man will appear in Doctor Strange. So now we're just combining it all together and hoping it's all gonna work. But here's the issue: there's so much hype for it already. There's so much invested in Spider-Verse.
Is there really hype though?
There's a ton of hype. People are
talking
about
about it, but do you really get the same
I
level of hype as other things?
I
don't.
I look at it like this, because what's interesting with social media and how people's brains work is something is dropped and you start over here, but then you end up all the way over there.
Yeah.
And if you see that pattern repeat enough times, you can draw the conclusion that people seem to care. And when Jamie Foxx's news broke, we ended up over at the Spideyverse all of a sudden.
Yep.
When the Doctor Strange news broke, we ended back up at the Spideyverse. When there was some weird, I want to say it was a casting call or something weird with Tobey Maguire, somebody drew conclusion and threw it all the way to the Spideyverse again.
I mean, Sam Raimi being confirmed as the director of Doctor
Yeah.
Strange, people were like, he's got to bring back Tobey Maguire.
Spideyverse! It's just it keeps going back.
And it's almost like, was it the chicken or the egg first, right? Like, did Marvel be like, yeah, we're going to bring back Tobey Maguire? Or is there so much so much speculation and hype, they're like, fuck, we got to bring it back Tobey Maguire.
Or some producers like, you know what, that's a
here's
good idea.
here's my honest, truthful thought and how this happened. And it goes back to a series that Arjuna used to be a huge fan of. The CW Arrowverse.
Oh my God.
Some EP, some person within the Marvel grouping has a kid. I'm going to assume it's a kid that was also very into the Arrowverse and watched along with this kid until they hit their big crisis thing, and then happened to be working and looked over the TV and saw a bunch of flashes, the Flash character, 2 different versions, and was like, Eureka, I got it. What if there were multiple Spider-Men? And then they thought they had this original idea, and that's how the Spider-Verse got kicked back into existence.
Mikkel Matter says the Endgame introduced the multiverse. They had it planned from when they wrote that. I wouldn't say they had it planned. You're right. It is, the multiverse is definitely introduced in Endgame and time travel and a lot of elements that are going to be involved in Phase 4. But I think, from how we've heard how the MCU kind of works, I think it's like we have the element now. Now we can kind of figure out what to do with it. I don't think Kevin Feige's admitted there's not like a strict plan. It's kind of a fluid plan on how these movies work. And maybe that's why they work. Because I think if you too tightly wind to like X, Y, and Z has to happen in all these movies, it's more like this has to somehow be accomplished in this set of movies. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily... They didn't plan Jamie Foxx to be in Spider-Man 3 when Endgame came out. Yes.
What about when Age of Ultron came out? They're like, you know what? In about 7 years, Jamie Foxx, Electro. From Age of Ultron? In Age of Ultron, someone was just sitting there being like, Jamie Foxx, he's the one.
I think the multiverse is the natural next step. Our comments are also saying, the focus would be on the multiverse. And I think, that
Sure.
makes complete sense.
Absolutely.
To kind of close this discussion out and kind of bring it back to the real world for a second.
Real
'cause,
world.
I don't know if you are aware of this. Everything that happens in the MCU is made up and doesn't really matter. But
What?
That's what they want you to
something that popped in my head and this goes back also to like Star Trek. When Star Trek came out and about, there was these ideas of like everyone is unified. We as a society are still working on how to have equality across the board. But there were also like science things and ideas about teleporters and warp drives and traveling faster than light. More recently, I would say that the idea of a multiverse has become more pop culture mainstream and is a kind of an accepted writing tool, right, to tell a story. Do we think...
Well, it's a legitimate theory in the science.
Yeah, it's a legitimate theory. But do we think, though, is there hope and is there curiosity with the youngsters in the next generation that's watching, consuming this content, that maybe someone out there is going to eventually figure out how to prove this?
Oh, absolutely.
And then we will finally get a real multiverse.
It's not a.
And, I'm not done. And then we can start replacing each of us from other Was It Good podcasts in the
Other
multiverse.
versions?
Yes.
So good day, mate. I'm Australian, RJ. I'm a different multiverse.
I'm a version of me with hair. Obviously.
And I'm the bald one.
Yeah, you're the bald
to
one.
bring it back to the Arrowverse, which you mentioned, one of the shows in there called The Flash has done this with a specific character, Harrison Wells.
Flash? Oh.
They do a different version of the character
Every
every season, and they one season they had a French version, one season they had a an investigator, then another season they had an archaeologist.
Did that work?
A lot of people liked it, but I thought it was kind of lame. I thought it was kind of stupid.
So it fit in with the show then, because the show was lame and stupid.
Yes.
Hmm.
There you go.
The show was lame and stupid. Christian's official thoughts on that.
Yes.
I just always find it funny about the multiverse thing, especially how Disney and Warner Brothers kind of compete, right? I think
They're destined to do battle
we talked about
forever.
this a few weeks ago. When Captain America: Civil War and Batman v Superman, I believe those both came out in 2016. So they knew, each studio knew, we're gonna do kind of hero versus hero type of thing. And then Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, the female-led superhero movie, and then and I think even with this, Flashpoint, and now Doctor Strange, multiverse madness type of stuff. So I always just find it funny how companies love to compete like that, and they're just we gotta get it out first, or we gotta do this first,
Yeah.
on the big screen or whatever. Even though there
Well,
is no longer a big screen.
That's
But
why you
that's
don't
not
want
just not just movies, though, right? It's like all companies.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why you don't want
Yeah.
monopolies. Monopolies are bad unless
even
you're playing
though,
the game.
Even though we're getting strangely close to them.
Some would argue we're already there.
Yeah.
We're at the singularity point.
Yeah, that's
We're in the
end game.
game.
There we go.
Fuck.
There we go. And with that, I think we're going to close out this podcast. Guys, thanks for joining me. It's been fun.
I just want to point out real quick. I finished the show Dark.
Oh, nice.
Best time travel thing by far. It's not even close. And one of the best shows ever made.
I already said all that.
And my favorite show ever.
Did we say if we thought the Star Trek and Lovecraft were good or not?
I think it's fairly obvious.
Yeah, we said Star
but they
Trek
were
was
both
good.
good.
Yes.
The end.
They were not. Neither of them were good.
Get out.
That's not how that works.
Leave.
Thank you again. Apologies. We were supposed to be live on Tuesday, but somebody did something that caused us to have to clean up everything. And
I flooded my toilet, and then it seeped into this room here, and it was wet.
we haven't cleaned it up. I'm kidding. But we will be back.
Just see a drip.
You see a drip. We will be back next week, either Monday or Tuesday, to discuss Lovecraft Country Episode 9 and any other kind of news that breaks between now and then. As always, you can find us on Twitter at Was It Good, on twitch.tv/wasitgood, and then also on Instagram, Was It Good BTM. And that's all I have to say.